Officials are saying that the trade relationship between the UAE and China is growing. But what are both countries doing to facilitate that? We're here to find out. My name is Shayan Shakil. I'm with Bernie Boosman. You're watching Inside AB. So Bernie, there must have been some interesting stats coming out of last week and with the overall UAE-China relationship. Can you give us a breakdown?
There was. I think the main stat that everyone needs to keep in mind is that by 2020, trade between the UAE and China is forecast to grow to $70 billion a year. So this is very substantial for both the UAE and for China. Wow. Especially for the UAE, which is China's most significant trading partner in the Middle East region. Also, hundreds of UAE companies are currently operating in China in different sectors, trade and industry, renewable energy, health, financial services, and vice versa. A lot of Chinese companies are, of course, here, even in the IFC, for example, a number of Chinese banks are now calling it home. So it's really kind of China's taken the top position when it comes to UAE investment interest in that part of the world. And of course, we've mentioned this in a lot of our stories and in different videos this week. There's a lot of Chinese tourists here coming in the UAE, and that's a significant business angle in and of itself.
So where are these numbers coming out of? Like what kind of trade relationships are happening beyond bilateral agreements, like in terms of companies?
Well, one particularly interesting story that came out last week was from DP World. They signed an agreement with a Chinese company called the Zhejiang China Commodity City Group to build something called a trader's market at Jebel Ali Free Zone. Right. Now, what this essentially will be is, kind of a centralized trading hub with different clusters that pertain to different industries. For example, there'll be a household goods cluster, a building materials cluster, et cetera, right, all the way through healthcare products and energy and power engineering technology. But what this means for China in particular is this is their entryway not only to the UAE, but to the GCC and to the Middle East. So this is really significant. There's also a similar agreement that DP World has with a different Chinese company in China. So, I mean, it's these sorts of things that different companies are looking into of all sizes. And, of course, different government entities are also doing stuff to encourage collaboration with counterparts in China.
Right. So you mentioned that China has similar agreements to varying degrees in other parts of the Middle East and the Gulf. What does that say about China's aims in the larger context of the region?
Well, the important thing is that everyone needs to keep in mind that the UAE and other parts of the Gulf, Kuwait in particular, are a really kind of important part on this new One Belt, One Road strategy. It's a $1 trillion new Silk Road that China's setting up, which has led to Chinese investment all over the world in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, different parts of Asia. So this is kind of an important stop, if you want to use the Silk Road analogy, for goods to get from China to Europe and further. And I mean, that's really why China is investing so heavily in the UAE and really in the Middle East in general, because it's all forming part of this very ambitious strategy that they have going. So it's kind of just helping facilitate the larger strategy in a way.
Right. So the reemergence of the Silk Road, history is repeating itself, huh, Bernie?
Of course, yeah. And I think it's a really interesting project. $1 trillion is nothing to sneeze at, of course. So.
Well, interesting. Well, we'll be back to find out more about that in future segments of Inside AB. You've been watching the show. Remember to subscribe and comment below and tune in tomorrow for another edition. Thank you for watching.